is it's hard work. I mean, it's really hard work, and it's not very rewarding work financially. So find people that are proactively looking for solutions. It's one of the reasons why I love search engine marketing so much, because by definition, they're looking. So if you go advertise on the search engine and it works, then you know that you've got something. If you advertise on the search engine and it doesn't work, that can be one indicator that maybe people aren't looking for what it is you're selling. And question number 3 is, does your prospect have few or ideally zero perceived options?
That's interesting.
Okay, because if a human has lots of options, and this actually goes all the way back to, back up to like NLP, and impoverished models and so forth. If a person has few or no perceived options and a huge problem, and they're looking for solutions, when they find you, they're a buyer.
Well, if there's a wall here and a wall here and a wall here, it's amazing how you'll move in this direction,
Exactly.
Yeah, I get it.
And so what a lot of people do is they go into business and they say, well, I'm going to go into this juicy niche where there are 1 million competitors, and then I'm just going to be another one of them, rather than saying, no, wait a minute. Within this niche, where is there a need that's not fulfilled? Where I can be the only perceived option. Dating advice is a great example, where I looked at it all and I said, well, there are 1 million people teaching relationship advice, but there's no one teaching how to get into it in the first place. So if I carve that niche off and I say that's dating, that's all we do, there are 1 million people looking for that. There are 1 billion people looking for, I want the dating advice. And when they pick up the relationship book, the relationship advice book says, give your partner compliments. Be thoughtful. Listen to them. Don't get angry. The average guy is like, well, okay, how is this helping me? It's the opposite of what I need to do. So, few or no perceived options. So, is the prospect experiencing pain and urgency, or irrational passion, elevated emotional state?
Irrational passion too would be a golfer versus, every golfer's trying to take off whatever number of strokes off his golf game. Versus somebody who plays a sport, but there isn't the same level of time, energy, or investment. They also don't have the same frustration that golfers very often have. So
exactly. Proactively looking for solutions, few or no perceived options. If you can get 3 yeses, my experience is, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to the world to get out there and test that product. You've got to get it out to the world because it's probably a huge opportunity. If you don't get 3 yeses, you probably should figure out how to retool your niche or your market or your product until you do get 3 yeses to dramatically increase your probability.
Your probability of success. That's brilliant. It's really brilliant. Let's talk about lists, because the lifeblood of an online business, not the only one, obviously you said affiliates and so forth, but it's customers, it's clients. And the hardest thing normally is to get those customers or clients, to keep those customers and clients, make sure they're not clicking out or hanging up in the world we're in right now where it's easy to drop out. Tell us, how do people who are just starting, how do they go start to build that list? They're brand new, they don't know anything about building a list. And if you can give me a parallel track or the opposite decision-making Y or V, if they have a business, how do they activate that list or expand that list geometrically? Can we hit on those too?
Absolutely.
Great.
So just to tell you, I've done the math in my mind, kind of done some rough calculations. If we didn't have a list, if we didn't switch from just selling products to the mindset of build a list and add value to them, our business would probably be 1/10 the size that it is right now. Might even be 1/20th, might be 5% the size.
Tell me why.
Because in the past when we started, it was a one-shot sale. You come to our website, if you don't buy a product, you're gone and I never see you again. When we switched to, you come to our website, we ask for your name and email address, we want to follow up with you, we want to build a relationship, then after you buy the product, we want to follow up with you and have a conversation, we want to offer you more great products. That extended the lifetime value, it extended the relationship, and instead of you just buying $20 worth of stuff from me, now you're going to buy $500 worth of stuff from me. And I mean, it's just, there's almost nothing that you can do in business that can increase the size of your business, the profit, the scalability, more than really building your list and building a relationship with your customers.
Now, when you say that to have it be a real list, I mean, there's the list and there's the list of buyers. Right. And so the difference, it really comes down to having that level of relationship, and not just relationship. You can be in a relationship, but where they're really a raving fan, where that perceived value explodes. Is that fair to say? So tell me, how do you go about doing that if you're brand new versus what do you do if you got a list and you got a business, but man, the world's changing, you need to expand that thing. Let's hit both of those if we could.
Absolutely. So one mindset, just quickly, kind of a little bit of an inner game thing. When people think list, they actually think, I'm going to build a list. And on the list are going to be a bunch of names, and then I'm going to throw information at that list of names, and then money's going to come back. Now, to some extent that's true, but what I recommend is you switch from groupthink to individual think.
Yeah.
And realize that that's not a list of names. Those are individual, real human beings,
Right.
each one of them at home, sitting at their computer or on their phone or walking into your store. They're individual people that have all their own desires and fears and, you know, aspirations in life and their frustrations and whatever. And if they're treated like a group, if you talk at them, they're not going to resonate with you.
Right.
Whereas if you treat them as an individual and you figure out how to really build that relationship with the customer as an individual, and then you replicate that individual think, that's when you can really get like resonation. That's where you can really get the long-term profit. So, so let's say that you're new and you're starting out. How do I build a list? Script out how your conversation would go with one customer. Not with a million of them, but with one. I've got a whole process that I've designed that I call the customer avatar system, where you make an image of your customer and you do all this stuff. And other people have things like this that they teach in marketing. This isn't a super original idea or anything. But you create a customer avatar. You project out what all your customers have in common that make them unique and that are the needs that basically match your business. Right? I'm trying to simplify it a little bit here.
Right.
And then you say, okay, that avatar, that individual customer that represents all of them, how would I script out a relationship with them? What would I say in the first meeting? What would I say in the second meeting? If they buy something, what would I say to them? And then you actually use technology to facilitate that whole conversation.
Right.
The greatest tool that's been, I think, ever been developed in modern marketing is what's called the email autoresponder. Okay?
Right.
An email autoresponder is a system that you can get from a company like getresponse.com, aweber.com, icontact.com. You can sign up for 10 or 20 bucks a month for a system, and these things are miraculous, Tony. You put a sign-in form on your website, let's just say, and it says enter your name and email. Someone enters their name and email. Behind the scenes, you program the system to follow up with them and send them emails. And you can say send an email every day, you can send every 2 days, you can program send on day 1, on day 7, on day 15, and you can pre-write all of them.
Right.
You could have a sequence of 100 different communications that lasts 100 days. And then if somebody signs up today, they get number 1, and tomorrow they get number 2, and the next day they get number 3. And this thing can manage 1 million of those all at once. And a lot of these systems, I mean, for 20 bucks a month, you can get 50 or 100,000 people on there, and it can run this whole thing, something that was never possible before.
Unbelievable.
And it can just manage that relationship. So script out the relationship that you would have. Send out an email to this new person that signs up for your list and say, hey, Tony, it's Eben. Thank you very much for coming to my website. I really appreciate it. I just want to let you know that I'm going to be following up with you, and every day I'm going to send you a really valuable tip on whatever. If it's golf, I'm going to send you a tip on how to play better golf, or I'm going to send you, a great website that I found that has great golf tips or specials on golf. If it's weight loss, I'm going to send you a great weight loss tip. If it's cars, I'm going to send you a cool car tip. Like whatever it is, I'm going to send you some valuable information. Keep your eye on it. Oh, and by the way, I put another great free report up for you. You can go download it over here. Tell me what you think. I'm also curious, what are your needs? Send me an email and let me know what your biggest frustration is right now with your golf game.
Right.
You can do all this, and it automatically sends it out.
It's amazing.
And then, for the 3% or 5% of people that respond and send you a personal email and say, well, thanks for asking. The thing that I'm, is really screwed up in my golf game is my short game or whatever. And those are the best prospects in the world because they came to your website, they signed in, now they're wanting to reach out and communicate with you.
They're both paying and urgent, and they're voting right now, they're looking, both simultaneously, right?
And technology did it all.
Wow.
Technology did it all. In the past, you'd have to go through so many gyrations to get a person qualified to that level. So get yourself an email autoresponder system and set up the conversation so that it just follows up and has a friendly conversation.
And if you don't know what the conversation looks like, and you could do trial and error with some real customers, just starting the process out, and you begin to find out what you want from there. Okay, please continue.
Yeah, exactly. And the great thing about this too is that the system builds the list for you. And it self-manages. So every time that it sends out an email to one of the customers, at the bottom it has a little link in it. The customer can click on it and remove themselves if they want, and just kind of manages itself. So that's the best way to start building a list right now. I mean, I think kind of bar none. It's probably the greatest list building mechanism, for the cost that the human species has ever created. Everyone should have an email list.
But you've already said before, the inner game of the marketing side, besides your own psychological shift to adding value, then when I'm going and I'm looking at my market and I'm looking at who is that person, it's creating that avatar as you described of who is the ideal customer and where do I really want to take them? What do they aspire to? What do they need? What do they want? If the pain was eliminated, if the urgency was met, what does that look like? And I'm migrating this process all with this technology, basically. Got it.
And there are other places you can build lists right now too. So you can get on a social networking website like a Facebook.
Right.
And you can build a huge list there by making friends with people, reaching out to them, and then you can message all of those people as well. Twitter is another one that's kind of a more modern one, which they call microblogging. You can get people to follow you there. I just had a great experience that, just shows all this stuff. I was sitting with my friend Tony Hsieh, who's the CEO of Zappos.com, very successful business. We were up in San Francisco a couple of days ago, and we were talking about their brand and their image and so forth. And I love to meddle in everybody's stuff, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I got some ideas, let's ask some customers what they think. And I'm telling, spewing out all my theories about branding, whatever. And I said, the customers will tell you what it is that they want. And I said, it would be really interesting to ask some people what they think of when you say your company's name. What image comes to their mind without putting anything in it? And I said, we should just start asking people, because people know Zappos. And he goes, why don't we Twitter? And I said, duh. So I jumped on had my laptop, opened it up.
These days you can do it right on your phone.
Yeah, exactly. I have it on my phone, right? But I twittered out right then. I sent out a tweet that said, when you think of Zappos, like, what do you think of? And we just got all this. It was just, we were just having fun, like just doing research, right? And bam, dozens of comments come back from, this is my list.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Many of them are saying, I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. I've never heard of that before. I think of a lighter, like whatever. But a bunch of people started giving all of their thoughts, and it sparked this whole conversation that we were starting to have about what real people think. And I asked them what words come to mind and what images come to mind. And we had some great, really neat insights. Because
I'm curious,
we just asked,
what came out, just out of curiosity?
Oh, people said things like speed, people said things like sparks. And even though they knew that it was like shoes, it's like, it just sounds like zap, the thing shows up.
Wow.
We made a whole list of things. I don't remember what all of them were right now, and like different images and things. It was just,
insightful
we got
immediately.
right into the mind of the customer.
But you got it immediately is the point as well.
Exactly, it was right now. So you can build a list using any of these tools, and it's the more you engage with them, the more they'll engage with you.
Right.
I mean, I've started my blog. I've got regular readers of my blog, even though I've been doing it for a couple of months.
Right.
And I send, out on my Twitter and other places, and I send people to my blog. I mean, I write about random stuff, things that I'm interested in. I have a little, series where I write about nanotechnology and robotics and artificial intelligence, and I call it the Skynet series. So I'm building a list of obviously very weird people that would read this stuff on my blog, but that's another way of like building a list of followers.
Yes.
And you can build influence. And then once someone buys, I mean, you said it, there's a difference between a buyer and a prospect.
Right.
Once someone buys from you, you have to realize that they have raised their hand and they have said, I am very special.
Right.
I am worth probably 10 times as much as, or 100 times or 1,000 times as much as people that are just nibbling.
Right.
Treat me special.
Right.
What most companies do is they spend their marketing dollars treating everyone the same.
Right.
As soon as someone raises their hand and buys, you want to put a lot of time and attention and treat that person, put a lot more energy and give them free stuff. Like, tell them you're special to me. What can I do to help you? Begin a dialogue with them to the best of your ability. Right. And I think that's really the way to build the list in the,
in the
most valuable, sense. In other words, the back end is what I'm saying, is where the valuable list is, not just building a list of people.
I understand. There's obviously parallels to it. Anything, if somebody already has a list, about how to activate that list more,
sure.
As well as if they got an ongoing business, I mean, they can do all the things you just said. Yep. They can apply it to a particular niche product or service. But is there anything else you might give an ongoing concern and say, okay, they've got a good sized list, but their list is not being as responsive. What do they do to activate it? How do they add the value that brings that to a new level of life?
Mm-hmm. What's amazing is people are people in a way. Okay, so we're all different, but we're all much more the same than we are different. And humans respond very well when you reach out to them.
Right.
Walk up to a person anywhere, anytime, and say, hey, I need some help, and watch what happens. Most of the time, if you're humble, most of the time the person just says, what can I do to help?
Right.
They want to connect. They want to have a relationship with you.
Right.
Most of us in business are in like the relationship prevention business. Like we're literally figuring out creative ways to prevent the customer from talking to us because we think they're going to complain or whatever. But when you open up and you say, you know what, tell me what's on your mind,
Right.
I'll give you an example of this about how we use kind of the Frank Kern, Jeff Walker product launch model to do this, and it's been a huge epiphany for me of interacting with customers. But all you got to do is go to your customers, send them a letter, do a voice broadcast where you do a broadcast voicemail where you can just search for voice broadcast and do it, send them an email, and all it has to say is, hey Tony, it's Eben. I feel bad. I realized that you bought my product a year ago and I never did anything to follow up with you. I'm a bad friend. You know,
great.
like, I'm a bad friend. There it is. But I also realized that you're the most valuable person that there is to me. You bought my product. You're probably getting great, value from it. And I'm out here running ads and spending money to find new people, and you're already here. So I realized that I should do something nice for you. If you've got a brick and mortar business, say, I'm having a party on Friday night. I'd really love to have you come. We're going to have some music, or we're going to have some more. Come back down to the store, hang out with me, hang out with some other customers. It's going to be a great time.
Right.
If it's an online business, send them a gift and say, you know what, I made this video for you. Normally I'd sell this for $100. I just made it for you. Go watch it. I just want you to have this thing. Right. Or you can say, I've got these 2 new products that I've been selling here, and since you're already a customer, I'm going to give you a discount one time because I just want to get the relationship going again.
Right. Let's wrap up. This has been spectacular. I mean, you're like taking a drink out of a fire hose. It's so beautiful, and it all is from the heart. It's all based on added value. It's all around the values that I think anybody who's intelligent is aligned with. We've covered many of the pieces, but I know you and I both are very passionate about helping people in business. It's where 80% plus of our economy is really driven in terms of employment.
Yeah.
It's a place that's not getting the bailouts, from the government. So if there's a place I want to see a difference made, it's there, and I know that's an area that you've focused on as well. When you look at a business, I know you look at it, and I look at it in a very similar way in terms of chunking, but I think you've chunked it into like 5 areas that if you're going to go from startup to at least 10 million, which most businesses never make it even close to that, these are the areas you've got to constantly focus on all 5 or you're not going to make progress. Right. We've covered some of them here, but we've not been explicit. Can you chunk out the 5? And let's talk about the ones we haven't touched on briefly to wrap this interview up, and then put people out there to go to work so they can use some of this stuff, because this has been truly, truly spectacular.
Thank you. So I teach this in a program that I called Altitude. And I call it Altitude because I think altitude is the most important aspect of business success. What is altitude? It's perspective.
Sure.
Multiple perspectives, right? Our mutual friend Wyatt says, wisdom comes from multiple perspectives.
That's great.
And so the more perspectives you can get, and the more you can get out of, I'm going to figure it out, I know best, the more perspectives you get, the faster you move. Right. So altitude is about zooming out, getting more perspectives so that you can then go back and work more efficiently, more effectively.
It's also a metaphor of working on the business versus in the business.
Exactly.
So you really have a completely different perspective of that alone.
So I break it out into 5 areas, which are you, your market, your marketing, your people, and your systems.
Perfect.
So you need to develop yourself into the person that can lead and run a business, right? And that's, there's a whole set of things you need to do there. Your market, we talked about, which is your products and services and the people that buy them, and we talked about choosing a niche. Your marketing, which is doing advertising and marketing and attracting customers and sales and things. And we touched on some of that with Move the Free Line and some of these ideas about the hooks and what have you.
That's correct.
The 4th area is your people, okay? So if you're going to accomplish anything big in life, you wake up to the reality that it's all going to be done with and through other people. That's what happens, and knowing how to relate to those people, organize them, and so forth.
And select them.
And
selecting the right people,
crucial.
Maybe the most important aspect of any business that's going to go beyond yourself, that's for sure.
Or life.
Yeah, or life.
Right?
I always tell people the most important decision in life is who you're going to spend your life with. I don't think anything determines the quality of your happiness or your life more than that, for sure.
Exactly. And then the last one is systems. Systemizing your business and building systems that automate the busy work and so forth so that you're freed up to do higher and higher level stuff. Okay? Right. So I'll just give you a little tip on kind of each of a couple of these, right? So how does you affect the business? Well, the reality is that your image of yourself and of the business is going to control the success of the business, right? So you actually have to do all of this inner work, and you have to figure out how to get yourself to become the kind of person that other people will respect, that can create products, that can juggle all of these different things, that can see the vision, and so forth. So we don't have time to get into leadership and what that is, and creating visions, and executing them, and getting other people enrolled in them, and so forth. But I'll give you one tip that I've learned that's critically important, especially in this day and age. Al Reese and Jack Trout, we mentioned in Positioning, they start the book out by saying we're the world's first over-communicated society.
Right.
There's too much information coming in. We have to filter it all out or we're going to go insane. Now, they said that like 30 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
Okay?
I know.
So,
it's mind-boggling.
I think that we're just hitting
the geometric. We're at the base
curve.
Of the curve. Yeah, no, I agree.
It's not even, we've seen nothing yet.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, what's happening is people are getting sucked into the distraction.
Right.
Multitasking, parallel processing is rampant, okay? And it's getting worse. And
it's addictive for people because it gives them a sense of false completion. And it's activity versus something that's meaningful, activity versus achievement. So
you know Tim Ferriss, author of 4 Hour Work Week, right? Very, very smart guy. On his blog, he wrote a great post that said that basically that multitasking and using your BlackBerry all day lowers your IQ more than smoking marijuana, right? And he cited that article about it. It was really, it was kind of funny. But the bottom line is, multitasking and parallel processing and juggling lots of things at once really does dramatically reduce your productivity. Right. But people don't know this. No one realizes this yet. Peter Drucker said back in The Effective Executive, 40 years ago or something, he said, focus your time in uninterrupted blocks of hours.
Concentration is power. It's a laser. It's anything else. You want to break through, you got to put all the focus into it.
Tony Schwartz, Powerful Engagement, says something very important, which is not only are we multitasking, not only are we not focusing, but by doing it, like you said, it becomes addictive, we're losing the ability to focus. So you wake up and you sit down and you want to focus on something, you can't do it anymore.
Well, you actually train your brain to function in a way that's most ineffective. Might be fulfilling on the surface level, but it's not fulfilling on the deep level.
Exactly. So best thing I can recommend that you do is create what I call a personal success ritual. Okay. Also, Tony Schwartz, very, very, very influenced by him. Powerful Engagement, world class. I mean, like probably top 10 book of all time kind of thing. And focus all of your willpower in the morning when you first wake up on you. Make yourself strong. First thing that I do when I wake up in the morning is drink a half liter of fresh, clean water. And I immediately go and brush and floss my teeth. Then I immediately go and do some exercise. Get 20 or 30 minutes of getting your heart rate up first thing. If you really want to take it to the next level, do just 5 minutes of meditation, right? Just calm the mind, totally just get into your own thing.
But you got to do it consistently. It's the ritual. We call it the hour of power, or 30 minutes to thrive, or 15 minutes to fulfillment.
Exactly.
Some segment that is absolutely consistent, so you get a new layer of conditioning yourself and a lasting result. Because we are the result of our rituals, whatever they are, and everybody's got them whether they know it or not.
It was such a game changer for me. Figuring out this mindset of doing that first thing so that I have time to reflect, you know. I've been changing up my workout lately, but I live in a 17-story tower on the 17th floor. So I run all the way to the bottom of the stairs, and then I go all the way back up to the top, and I do it multiple times kind of thing. And what I figured out, Tony, is that my best ideas are in that staircase.
That's great. That's cool.
Right? So some of my best ideas come when I'm exercising and taking care of my body and respecting myself first. And there's also...
And you're in a peak state. I mean, you're physiologically in a peak state, so the mind operates that way.
And when you take care of when you make yourself strong first, it unconsciously reprioritizes your whole life, and then you're stronger to help other people.
Absolutely.
So that's just my best tip, is take care of yourself first. I mean, you have some philosophies around this as well. We talked about your market, your marketing, your people. Okay, so Confucius said, and I'm going to paraphrase, never make friends with a man that's not greater than yourself.
I've not heard that one before. That's fantastic.
Okay, right? The actual quote, well, of course it was translated, it was like, never contract a friendship with a man that's not greater than thyself.
Wow.
Right? And, they mean man in terms of the species, right? So man or woman in this case.
Yeah, she won't be shot after this video, don't worry.
Okay, good.
Politically correct.
Yeah, right. These days, But, and you know what, I actually mean it, because I try to consciously, address everyone.
Yeah, I understand.
In some way. But in this case, if you want to know how much you weigh, ask your 5 closest friends how much they weigh, and average it, and that's how much you weigh. If you want to know how much money you make a year, ask your 5 closest friends how much. Who
you spend time with is who you become.
That's exactly it. And I've been thinking about this a lot in the last few years, Tony, and I'm getting really spooked out by it.
Who your friends are?
Yes.
I know all your friends are becoming my friends. This is beginning to worry me.
You've hung out with some of them. Yes. No, but I've been getting spooked out by just how
true it is, how accurate it is.
I am, in the most, almost real sense, little pieces of all of the people that I've hung out with in my life.
I saw it tonight. I was watching you tonight talking to Frank, and I'm watching how your humor and Frank's humor linked up in those moments. It's fascinating.
Exactly, right? And it's in every great thing that I can do or that I've accomplished, if I can do any great things or have accomplished any great things, I can trace it back to, I learned that from that person, and I do it like them.
Right.
And it's spooky, right? Because I want to think I figured it all out. I made all this stuff up. Not so.
Right.
In fact, there's nothing, I think, at this point that you can do in your life that can affect you more than just finding someone who is who you want to become and getting them in your life.
And your game changes too. I mean, if you play a sport against somebody who is the same level you are or lower, you might have a good game, but your game's not going to get better, no matter who you are. You play against somebody you can barely stay on the court with, and I don't give a damn who you are. If you're going to stay on that court, you're going to get better. You're going to get stronger. So it has a pull effect as opposed to a push effect.
And there's another little inversion that we have to do here. There's another inner game thing. I think it was in Schwartz's book, The Paradox of Choice, where he talked about, they asked attorneys, they said, would you rather make $100,000 a year and be the top attorney in your firm, or would you rather make $200,000 a year and be in a firm where you're in the middle of the pack? And attorney said,
you're getting back to that selfish gene, or what do you call it, justice?
The justice mechanism.
Justice mechanism for you, yes.
Right? Status plays into everything. I've done a lot of work on status in the attraction world and also in business. So status and kind of politics, we're always sorting at an unconscious level, where do we fit in? So we need to let go of where do I, what's my status, or how do I fit into the pack, and all that kind of thing, and just get into how do I add massive value, and how do I really, let me say that again. We have to get out of the status game. We have to get out of the game of, where do I fit into the pack and so forth, and just say, what do I want to become, and then find a human being, a real live one who represents that, and then be around them.
Yes.
It's very difficult on most people's ego to be in a room full of people who are all beyond them.
Yes.
There's nothing that pulls you up faster. We all, you notice, when you hang out with people, most people will listen to someone tell a story and then they go, well, you think that's good? I got an even better one.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you think you were poor? I had to, walk a hill both ways in the snow, and that whole thing. I suffer from, we all do this kind of thing.
Condition.
Exactly. But what I found is I am continually upgrading my reference group.
That's awesome.
I learned this from Napoleon Hill and Brian Tracy. Napoleon Hill calls it the mastermind. Brian Tracy talks about the reference group. You become who you surround yourself with. And one of the magical things of being human that other species don't get is we can choose the people that we surround ourselves with, and therefore we can choose what we become. We mostly can't do it with our will, and we can't do it by thinking about it and hoping that we're going to do it. Surround yourself with who you want to become. So that's the people.
But can we cover one more piece on people, which is selection? How do you know, how do you find, and how do you know you got the right people?
Okay.
Right people in the right seats, but let's at least go for the right people.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to really screw your business up, hire people that, number one, you like, and number two, they're like you.
That's true.
That's it.
Right?
Hire people that you really, really like, and hire people that are really, really like you, and they're usually the same person.
Yeah.
What you're usually doing is you're projecting yourself out there, and you're going, wow, that's a younger version of me.
Right.
And of course, what they do, Michael Gerber likes to say this one, is they come in, they work for you for a year, and then they steal your idea, and they go start another business, because they're you, and that's what you did, right? Or, whatever, right? And what you got to do is find compliments, right? Find people that aren't like you, that can do all the things that you're not good at. Number one, you got to learn to recognize those people, and you got to learn to say, oh, okay, you are different, and we don't agree in certain ways, but you do a great job over here, and I do a great job over here. And number two, hire superstars only. That's it. Don't settle for average. Brad Smart, who wrote the book Top Grading, probably the best book. He's probably the top guy that I know of in the world on hiring and recruiting and whatever, and interviewing. And he says, he did a study, the cost of a mishire. Okay, so number one, 75% of all people that are hired are mishires. 3 out of 4.
Meaning you eventually realize they're not the right person for the job.
Not the right person, they get fired, they don't work out, whatever. So 75% wrong. The average cost of a mishire is, he did a kind of an exhaustive set of research, 23 times their average salary. Their annual
How is that
salary.
possible?
It doesn't even make sense, does it?
Well, yeah.
So that means that if somebody makes $50,000 a year, that the total nut that it's going to cost you is over $1 million. What we don't realize is you didn't have the right person doing the right thing, growing the business. Okay? You were paying this person. They were sucking up your time, other people's time to get trained. The wrong people, C players, they're the ones that sue you and do, they build what I call black boxes inside your business, things that only they know how to operate. So,
so
C
they're
players
supposedly invaluable, but they're really destroying the businesses because there's no system anymore.
C players usually have one talent, and that is establishing job security. That's what they're really good at. Okay?
What's a B player good at?
Well, B players, I don't know, because I just kind of try to think and see it, right? A good solid B player that can do something really, really well for you. Sometimes it's worth to keep them around. But A players, and the best, predictor of their future performance is their past performance, actually, in work situations. And Brad Smart recommends a serial interview where you go through a whole process and you actually interview the person. You say, okay, why'd you get that job, and what were your expectations, and what were your strengths, what were your weaknesses, what'd you succeed at, what'd you fail at, why'd you leave, and then what would your boss say if I talked to them? What were your strengths and weaknesses? And then you look for patterns.
Right.
And you look for people that are performers.
Right.
And when you hire them, you really watch very hard to make sure that they're superstars, because everyone comes in with their game face on, and they walk into the interview after reading a book on how to do interviews, and they're better at it than you because they've been doing 50 of them, and you're just hiring your first person or the first person like that.
Right.
So you have to, and another thing, I'll just give you a quick little insight I've learned. Beware of smooth talkers. Any human being that is a smooth, polished talker sends up a giant red flag for me immediately.
Right.
If they're too smooth, to me, that usually means that there's something that they can't perform in the real world. Right. I like to say smooth talkers usually aren't smooth doers. And what you'll find is in the first 30, 60, 90 days, that super smooth talker that talked like you left and you went, I have finally found the person that's going to solve all my problems. They know everything. It's 30, 60, 90 days into it, things aren't kind of getting done.
It isn't just the presentation is smooth. What you're saying is they're making everything feel like it can be solved so easily. They don't acknowledge any limitations on their side, et cetera.
Exactly. Okay. And when your gut tells you something's wrong, it is. Right. Trust your gut and get rid of them early. Right. Fire them after 30 days, 60 days. Don't wait for a year or two while you're trying to rehabilitate them and go, but wait, I could see that you saw the vision and you knew how to do it. How do I get this out of you? We've all gotten ourselves into all kinds of trouble.
Well, often we've said it's not the person you hire, it's the person you don't fire that destroys the business so often, right?
Exactly, right. Hire slowly, fire quickly.
Now, I know, had kind of like a test when somebody has just joined you, if I remember correctly. Yep. Can you tell me what that test is?
Sure. So let's get into systems. I'm going to give you one quick system.
You got it.
This is a system that involves people.
Great.
One of the most valuable things that I've ever done. Just used it recently with great success. Really, really helped me out. I call it the daily update.
Right.
You hire a new person, you sit them down on day one, and you say, Tony, we're going to be working together, really excited about working with you. I'd like you to do one thing for me. At the end of every workday, I'd like you to send me a daily update. Send it to me by email. It should take you 5 minutes to do, 10 minutes max. If it takes you more than 5 to 10 minutes, you're doing something wrong.
Right.
In the daily update, I want you to tell me 3 things. Number 1, what I did today, results I got.
Right.
Number 2, problems or challenges that came up.
Right.
Number 3, questions that I have for you.
Right.
Okay, so what I did today, results I got, problems and challenges, questions.
Right.
If you will watch someone's daily updates every day for 30 days, you will learn so much about them that people who have known them for years don't even realize, because you will see the pattern.
Right. Are they results driven? Are they activity driven? Do they even notice the difference in their life? Noticing whether or not they're really even asking any new questions, whether they're getting curious about things in any new way, shape, or form. What is perceived by them to be a problem versus
exactly. Will they ask you if they have a problem? What's going on? And
it's really great.
Even more importantly, do they send it to you every day?
That's the most basic test of all.
Really?
That's true.
Okay? Because
you're absolutely right.
When you get to the end of the first 30 days,
and you got 12 of them, or 6, or none.
Exactly. There are a couple of scenarios. One is they sent it every day, but it's bad news.
Yeah.
One is they sent it every day and it's good news.
Yeah.
Another is they didn't send it every day and it's bad news. Another is they did it and it's good news, whatever. So there are kind of these options. If you've got someone that's performing, they're just kicking ass, it actually doesn't matter whether they sent them every day or not, because they're a performer.
Yeah.
If they're a superstar and they didn't send the daily update every day, you can say, we're going to get you an assistant that's going to send your updates every day, okay?
Right.
Fine.
Just tell them.
And maybe you can coach them or whatever.
Right.
But if they're not performing and they're not sending daily updates, or they're not performing and sending daily, you'll see it. And I mean, in my experience, the underperformers, they usually don't send the update every day.
Right.
And then when you sit down with them at the end of 30 days, you can just say, look, I asked you to do one thing consistently for this 30 days.
Great. It's really great.
Right? I asked you to do one thing, and which just send me a little daily update. And they'll have excuses or whatever will come up. And you say, I just don't feel like this is going to be a good fit because we need results and accountability and communication, and it's just not your style to do that.
Right.
You're not. Then it kind of works out for everybody. It's in everybody's best interest. So the daily update has been tremendously valuable.
How long have you been doing this?
Since I started.
Oh wow, that's fantastic.
So I have a whole set of qualities that I teach to look for when you're hiring a person.
Right.
There are 5 key qualities. The one single most important quality is what I call a driver. And the driver personality can be any personality type, but drivers are those people that show up and they say, I'd like more responsibility. I'd like something to do. They take it, they own it, they take it all the way to results. Okay, so a driver is someone who is proactive.
That's right.
Okay, so they're not reactive.
Right.
Most people in the business world, if let's say they're working on a project and they send you over an email and they say, hey Tony, I'm working on this thing, I need to ask you a question, what's this? And you don't respond to them, most people just kind of like go,
yeah,
okay. And then a month later,
they don't get the outcome. A month later, they'll tell you why they didn't get it.
Well, a month later, you show up and you say, hey, where's that project at? And they say, well, I emailed you and I never heard back, right?
Drives me crazy.
And you want to shoot yourself immediately, right?
Yeah.
And you're like,
Or maybe them
postal.
too.
Yeah, right, then yourself, and you have all these fantasies, right? Well, the driver, they email you, they don't hear back. The next day, they email you again, they don't hear back. Then they call you, and then they show up. Hey, Tony.
Right.
And there's nothing weird. Okay, they're not upset, they're not emotional. They're saying, you know what, Tony, I need to get this from you because I've got to push this thing forward. This is in both of our best interest. And they turn your head to look at their thing, and then they get the thing done.
Right.
So they're proactive, they're not reactive.
Got it.
Huge, right? Another thing is they have a sense of result orientation.
Right.
Right? So instead of work, they're focused on results. Most people can't conceive of a result.
Right.
Most people will work on something for 40 hours, and then like a new opportunity will come up to just end run the whole thing, buy a piece of software that just solves it, and they'll be like, but I got 40 hours in this, and I got to see it through to completion.